With Diego Pavia's future as Vandy's quarterback unclear, maybe perhaps unlikely, Vandy will be active in the portal with some big names. What's going to happen at the quarterback position? We're about to find out.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, here we are. This is the quarterback episode. There's probably plenty on the heels here of quarterback episodes as this position and the high profile nature of this position looks to unfold in the transfer portal. We're going to look into all of Vandy's options for the quarterback position in 2025. Does that include Diego Pavia? Does it include a big name from the transfer portal? Does it include somebody already on the roster and just build some depth behind that? What does it all mean, right? They're going to have plenty of depth regardless. There's some good names there in the quarterback world there, but again, so some of the things that, this is going to be a very active class as far as quarterbacks in the transfer portal. I think now versus last year, Vandy can be a major player in the quarterback transfer portal game because I think with things that are already in place, the success that has been had, and all of those are going to allow Vandy to spend more money in the transfer portal window. You're going to see some true action this year. And I think you're going to see a lot of interesting situations kind of unfold, right? So the first domino fell. Oklahoma hired Ben Arbuckle as their offensive coordinator, hired him away from Washington State. Washington State's quarterback, John Mateer, also had some record-breaking performances at Washington State, has really kind of proven himself. He's just going to jump into the portal too. Does he follow Coach Arbuckle, or does he truly explore all of his options? So what does that mean for Jackson Arnold? If Mateer follows Arbuckle, does Jackson Arnold then hit the portal? Like, what does it all mean? Kyron Drones likely going. Connor Wegman announced that he's going to hit the portal. All of this opens on Monday, so none of these portal entries are officially official yet, in the words of Ian Rappaport, but they are some possibilities. These guys are announcing that their intentions are to join the portal. They could change their mind Sunday night and say, I'm not joining the portal, and they could back out. But more than likely, these guys are going to be in the portal, and there's likely going to be more behind them with some interesting things. And Vandy's going to have, I think Vandy's going to be in a good situation in the quarterback transfer market if they choose to go that route. Now, the first domino that has to fall for Vandy to be major players in this market is, of course, Diego Pavia, because the success that he had in leading this team, he's appealing for an extra year of eligibility. His hearing is set, as I'm recording this on a Tuesday night, is set for tomorrow. So we'll know more as the day unfolds with what Pavia's case is looking like. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Are they going to grant him that extra year of eligibility or not? He's been acting like on social media that this is his last ride. So I don't know if it's likely. It's definitely not clear. I don't even have an educated guess on what I think's going to happen in that regard. But when that domino falls, I'm sure they're going to be in touch with these guys. I'm sure they're not just letting things just fall into the ether. I guarantee you they've been in touch with guys that have announced their intentions on joining the portal, just to be like, hey, look, we have this situation going on. Obviously Pavia is our guy, but if he does not get that extra year of eligibility that he's appealing for, we like you. We're gonna be players in NIL. So the first name I want to talk about. Okay, this is gonna, like I said, this is gonna be an interesting portal race. I think Vandy, again, with the offense, it's a unique offense. So the characteristics you need as a quarterback are as such. You need a You need a good runner. You don't even need an elite runner. You can have a good runner, an athletic quarterback. If you have any elite runner that can throw, man, that's good. But you just have to have somebody that can run, okay? Because this is an option-based offense. And there's some avenues within this offense to where if you get a guy that doesn't run quite as well, but is good at reading defenders and can throw, you'll probably see a little bit more of an RPO component to this offense, which you saw kind of develop later in the season with Diego Pavia throwing some RPOs. If you got a guy that can really run, that's not as great of a passer, but has the arm strength and has a little bit of accuracy to him, you could see that kind of potentially being a guy where, okay, we're going to go more of what Pavia did offensively, where you're doing running options and pitches and things like that, like more like what Pavia did throughout the course of the season, especially early on. If you got a guy that's really good at both but not elite at either, you could see more of a mix and match. I think this offense, what I like about it is it seems to be customizable to whoever is going to be in that slot. Now the attributes are there. John Mateer, I think, is a name that's very, very interesting because he's somebody that I think would be a phenomenal fit at Vandy. I mean, the guy he's got a lot of the tools that you need. He's got all the tools that you need really to be good. I think when you take a look at that and what he brings to the table, he's somebody that talent-wise jumps off the page. I mean, he's 6'1", 219, so he's built a little bit taller than Pavia, but built very similarly. He's got 2,300 yards and 22 touchdowns and 6 picks. He has a 62% completion percentage. He has run for 630 yards and 11 touchdowns, so he's a dual threat guy. And he reminds you a little bit when you watch him play. He reminds you probably not as much moxie, I don't think. I mean, I haven't watched enough of him to know how much moxie he has, but it seems like he does. He kind of reminds me a little bit of what Gardner Minshew was able to do at Washington State. And can you imagine Gardner Minshew playing in this offense? That would be fun. If Gardner Minshew, if you have any eligibility left, please come to Vandy. No, just kidding. But it's likely that he's going to follow. I think the consensus is, or the idea is, that he's probably going to follow his coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, to Oklahoma. There's a good possibility that he does that. If Brent Venables is open to that, of course. They've got a guy in place, which they benched him at some point in the season and reinstated him. They didn't hire the coordinator that reinstated him. So maybe he looks to hit the portal. So this Oklahoma situation, excuse me, this Oklahoma situation is going to play out very interestingly because is it Mateer that comes in and bumps out Jackson Arnold? Is it Jackson Arnold that stays put and Mateer goes exploring his different opportunities? Because, if he goes to Oklahoma, that's SEC. There's NIL potential. I think they instantly become better with Arbuckle, and they make that twofold with Mateer coming with him. So maybe they got Arbuckle as kind of a package deal. Maybe that's already kind of in the understanding of that situation. But I would love to have Mateer. Mateer would be the number one replacement. I think Tim Beck and Jerry Kill have identified him that. I guarantee you they've contacted him since Arbuckle got hired a couple of days ago. And this is going to be a situation to monitor. Also, Jackson Arnold can run. I don't know if you watched that Bama game against Oklahoma. Dude can run. And he's fast. He's got a good arm. He's a really good quarterback. He's got a little bit of what about him too. And he's resilient because he got benched, came back, played very, very well for Oklahoma in a situation that was, he's used to playing, like he's got experience playing in a situation that's a bit of a mess. Like their offensive line, Vandy's offensive line was better than Oklahoma, and a lot of y'all would probably consider Vandy's offensive line kind of a mess, right? But Vandy's offensive line was stunningly, it was pretty solid. So I think that Jackson Arnold coming in here would also be somebody that I think you could get. He would be that kind of hybrid guy where, yeah, he can run really, really well. And if you want to infuse him in some quarterback designed runs, probably not as much on the option runs. He'd probably be more of a quarterback design run RPO guy versus just straight up like option stuff, read option stuff. He's probably not as much on those lines as that. But he's somebody that if Mateer ends up at Oklahoma, bumps out Jackson Arnold, I'm calling Jackson Arnold. I think he could play in this offense. I think Tim Beck and Jerry Kill could do a lot of things with Jackson Arnold. I think that would probably be a good fit. Let me know in the comments if you agree with either of those two. John Mateer obviously would be somebody that I would love to have. So there's some other names on the board. Maybe someone already on the roster is going to be QB1 for 2025. Who knows? We'll talk about some possibilities there as well. But there's a lot, like I said, there's going to be a lot of interesting names coming out over the next few days here, and especially Monday after signing day when teams haven't really, like, if there's teams out there that haven't made their minds up at the quarterback position, or they're not getting one of these big time freshman quarterbacks in, what do they do in the portal? How does this stuff unfold? What happens with all those quarterback position guys. And so this is going to be a fun portal season because Vandy's going to be, like I said, Vandy's going to be very, very active because Clark Lee has a little bit of security. They're going to have a little bit more of a bag, and they've got an offense that they now have on tape beating Alabama. They have on tape on the road beating Auburn, who a lot of people feel pretty good about Auburn right now, especially the talent they have defensively. They have a road win against Kentucky right before Kentucky fell off. They have a near losses to Texas, LSU, and I guess you could consider Tennessee a near loss, close loss. It was close-ish, 13 points, close-ish, when that game probably could have been 33 points instead of 13 points. So you could consider it was a dream start, kind of got away from them. They fought back. Kind of situation in the Tennessee game. But nonetheless, there's a lot of good film out there to prove that quarterbacks, hey, you can actually be successful at Vanderbilt under this current offensive regime. And I think there's a little bit more. And Pavia, I'll get more into Pavia here in a little bit. We're going to talk about why I think Pavia is great, but I think the offense is limited a little bit in the same regard. So I'll tell you what all that means more next. All right. Bettor Together. That's right. You know what? You hate the team you drafted in a season-long fantasy, but want to stay in on the action. I know a lot of you are out there sitting in last place going, man, I wish I wouldn't have drafted this guy. I wish I wouldn't have drafted Christian McCaffrey. Haven't had him all year long, right? So, I'm going to introduce you to Bettor Together. That's right. Bettor. It's right there. It's the spelling's right there. That's why I'm pronouncing it weird. The first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork triumphs talent, and you can play with your friends, not against them. All you have to do is pick more or less on real-time player stats, strategize with your partner to boost your odds, and to climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join the social daily fantasy movement at Bettor Together. All right, so here's some reasons to play. Here's why I really like this, okay? It's the first cooperative daily fantasy application. Bettor Together provides a sense of camaraderie, man, enhances the social experience of watching sports. So imagine you're just chilling with your buddies on the couch and or you're chilling with your buddies at the bar and you're watching, you got 4 TVs up and you got your daily fantasy lineup going, you're high-fiving instead of talking trash. That's awesome. It makes you realize that DFS is fun alone, but like a lot of other things, it's better with friends. That it's a way to stay connected when you can't watch sports together in person. So you could be on the phone, you could be on FaceTime, you could just be texting back and forth. Hey man, did you see Saquon Barkley backwards hurdle somebody, right? You can put your group chat to test and let you prove yours is the best. So download Bettor Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a free $10 entry into any NCAA football or NFL contest. You play with me in the Locked On CFB Saturday games contest this Saturday. Remember the code Locked On because winning alone is fun, but it's better together, right? So download Bettor Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code Locked On for a chance to play in a contest with or against me because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. All right, man. All right, guys. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Thanks for making Monday's episode your first listen and apparently all your listens, right? Starting to pick up some new subscribers, so make sure you guys are continuing to clock that subscribe button. If you got a friend that's looking for a good show, good football show, this is the one, right? This is even if you don't like Vanderbilt, this is a good football show. So, very, very interesting portion of the season. The football portion is gone. Signing day, portal season. This is where all the drama is, right? This is where all the moves are. Coaches moving, players moving. It's a very transient sport now, where don't get comfortable with the numbers on your roster because they're going to change. Those people are going to change, and the people that were in that are going to change zip codes, and it's going to be all going to be all jumbled. Like you can just cut your roster in half. And just like you can play this game where you cut the roster in half, and you just shuffle the papers around, and no one would know any different. Like that's how transient is now. It used to be like, hey, we're losing 20 guys this year from graduation. We're just going to replace them with high school guys, and then the occasional transfer. Now it's like we're losing 50 guys, and that's common. Just kind of strange to say, but. It's just common. So it's no big deal. But anyway, again, here we go. Transfer portal, man. It's going to leave your head spinning. I promise you. Talked about John Mateer. Talked about the Washington State situation. But Connor Wegman also announced that he is entering the portal, which means likely Marcel Reed is staying, which I think he's had a good experience with Mike Elko. And Colin Klein, I think Colin Klein sees a lot of himself in Marcel Reed. Just got to develop him a little more as a passer. Just got to polish him a little more as an overall quarterback, which you kind of threw him in. He wasn't quite ready, but he's a super gifted athlete, great competitor, and you just kind of go and you take the good with the bad with the good, right? And he had a marvelous season. I can't fault anything. But again, Colin Klein's going to get a full off season, spring practice, fall camp to kind of mold Marcel Reed. So he's going to stay. That's the point. Connor Wegman is in the portal. So what do we think of Connor Wegman? Right? I've got kind of mixed emotions on Connor Wegman. So here's, you have to think of it like this. Why did he lose his job? Okay. Why did he lose his starting quarterback job? All right. Is it because he's not good enough of a passer? Is it because the moxie isn't there? Is it just because he just couldn't fit in with Mike Elko? He was, again, highly touted coming out of high school. He played early under Jimbo Fisher, never reached 1,000 in a season with or more with 5 games played. He was excellent, 19-7 touchdown to interception ratio. He struggled to stay healthy. That's the thing that concerns me with him. He's got 5-star potential. He's athletic. He's got good, powerful, accurate arm, but somebody that just can't stay on the field is something that's a little bit concerning. And I think that ultimately knocked him out at Texas A&M. And this is something that, you worry about if you're going to take on a guy like Connor Wegman. He's got some moxie. He's got some leadership skills. I mean, I think the guys play hard for him at Texas A&M, but they in the end, I think they just couldn't trust that he was going to stay healthy. Marcel Reed got a little bit of a hot hand against LSU, and Wegman just kind of faded off into the background. So, not surprising that he is transferring, but he's had multiple coaches now. He's shown that he can learn, pick up multiple offenses. So that's not necessarily a problem. The names that I'm seeing for him: Notre Dame, Miami, Michigan, Iowa, USC. Trying to figure out what all these teams are going to do with their coaching searches. You have to think Notre Dame's offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, is probably going to be gone. So, like, if Wisconsin were to hire Mike Denbrock, does he go to Wisconsin? Does he follow Denbrock to Wisconsin? Is Marcus Freeman coming back to Notre Dame, or is he going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears? I know he's going to probably interview for that. I think Notre Dame is probably out for him, but Miami wouldn't be a bad fit. Michigan wouldn't be a bad fit. Iowa, I think, would be a really good fit. It'd be an odd fit, but I think it'd be a really good fit. And then Miller Moss is going to be hitting the transfer portal as well. We'll talk more about him on a later episode as he officially announces. But Lincoln Riley and Wegman kind of, he offered him out of high school for USC. So there's some interesting things there. But again, Connor Wegman, I think, would be an interesting fit at Vandy. Again, probably more of an RPO, quarterback design run type situation where you're not going to really run the true option with him because he's not that kind of quarterback. Not that he can't do it, but just would make more sense as if he could, you get some quarterback lead stuff with him. You move the pocket with him. He's somebody that can hang in there and throw and make big time throws from the pocket. He's somebody that can really kind of get you going in the pass game and lead you down the field. So I like Wegman. I think it'd be an interesting fit. I don't know if Tim Beck and Jerry Kill are how they feel about him, but I think, again, he would be somebody worth looking at. And I'll tell you who's worth looking at, and that would be somebody that Vandy was very familiar with all offseason, and they studied him pretty hard. I'll tell you who that is next. All right, FanDuel. Yeah, man. You need to get ready to tackle some NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also, if you're in search of a good bagel, Creve Hall Bagel Company, you're missing out. If you're missing out, you're truly missing out. Phenomenal bagel. They do it right over there. Ben Cornfield, owner operator of Creve Hall Bagel, locally owned business. They're in the business of making sourdough bagels, so they've changed the bagel game. Right? They've changed it completely. They have a unique selection of not only bagels, but a unique selection of schmear pairings. You can make any sort of breakfast sandwich out of any bagel on the list, while supplies last, of course. And if you don't get there soon enough, you could run out of your favorite bagel, right? So just be mindful of that. But it's my every other weekend go-to spot. We load up, then we come back every other weekend. It's my go-to. So you should need to make it yours too. Anyway, talking quarterbacks, and I could probably do a month's worth of episodes and not touch on every single quarterback that Vandy could possibly bring in, right? Kyron Drones is the name I was talking about. Kyron Drones, quarterback from Virginia Tech. It's likely that he's going to hit the portal. So that would be, honestly, somebody. If I was Vandy, I would be looking to Kyron Drones, right? He's somebody that I don't think he's announced anything yet, so I'm not going to go full in on Kyron Drones, but you saw the dude make some throws. You saw how he moves. So he's a good runner. He's electric. I just think that Vandy was they had a whole off season to kind of get ready for that. And I think the play calling for Virginia Tech was baffling at some points. You get him in this offense. I think if you put Kyron Drones, I think if Diego Pavia were to go down and they went over to Kyron Drones and handed him a uniform and said, come play for us during that same game, Vandy would have beaten Virginia Tech by 3 touchdowns. Kyron Drones is that good. Virginia Tech, I don't think they used him effectively enough. I don't think they protected his skill set enough. I don't think they took advantage of his skill set enough. So that's something that I'm very interested in seeing how that plays out. So they're going to have their work cut out for them. Trying to keep him on board. So before we get out of here, is someone on the roster going to be quarterback 1 for 2025? Is there a situation to where you bring in a guy from like a smaller school, as some depth, and do you go with Nate Johnson? Do you go with Jeremy St. Hilaire? Do you go with Whit Muschamp? Is there a situation where Blaise Berlowitz is vying for the quarterback job? I mean, all these guys are going to be competing for that. If Vandy goes active in the portal, does Nate Johnson go somewhere else? Does he become an option somewhere? And does he switch places with somebody? Like, do we see our first ever college football trade? Who knows? But this is going to be an interesting situation because I think Nate Johnson can come. I think Nate Johnson's skill set is really, really good. I don't know that he really, because I think there was some opportunity for him to kind of step in a little bit, probably earlier, to relieve Diego Pavia when Pavia was beat up. But I'm not sure that he really grasped the offense that well enough to where Tim Beck felt comfortable with putting him in the game and said, hey, here you go. Like, they could have really done that against South Carolina. They could have just said, hey, here you go. And I think the fact that he got minimal reps against LSU and he got minimal reps against Tennessee, I don't think he got any reps against Tennessee, actually. But I think the fact that he was very, very minimal against LSU leads me to believe that he just wasn't where he needed to be as far as grasping the offense to the level that, the coaching staff felt comfortable with putting him in. So does that mean he's going to be on the roster? Who knows? There's a lot of decisions that are going to be made at that position. So it's going to be something that I would be willing to monitor. St. Hilaire is a name that I heard a lot in camp when they highlighted the young guys. Obviously, the a lot of the news coming out of camp was centered around Pavia, was centered around Nate Johnson and the quarterback battle they had going on. It was also Drew Dickey and Blaise Berlowitz. They were battling for a spot on the depth chart. Like, they were battling for like the long term. It was kind of like Nate Johnson was like the middle reliever and Berlowitz and Drew Dickey were the long reliever. So like if the starter gets knocked out early and you need somebody to run the offense, like one of those two guys were going to go in. Or if you just needed somebody for like 4 plays, Nate, go in there and do something, So it's interesting to see, like, they have some guys on the roster. St. Hilaire's kind of that lanky, very smooth, athletic kid. And he's still just a kid, but does he factor into this decision making? Right? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very telling with how Vandy acts in the transfer portal to see, okay, how do they value the guys they have on roster? How do they value star power? Like, if they're trying to build a winnable roster in the SEC, they need star power to attract star power caliber players, right? It just is what it is. Like, Nate Johnson does not command a whole lot of star power. He's a good athlete, but I don't think guys are knocking down the door to come play with Nate Johnson or Jeremy St. Hilaire or, any of the guys that are currently on the roster. Now, I think some of these middle of the pack guys could transfer to other places and go and freaking thrive, right? It just, it's just a matter of if they're going to. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what Vandy's own quarterback room does, how that reshapes. But I think that the name of the game here, and I'll leave you with this as we signing day coming up. We'll talk about the freshmen coming in, and that'll be the number of freshmen that sign on the first signing period will also kind of be very telling of how active they're going to be in the portal to replace some of these positions versus how active they're going to be. How many more guys do they sign out of high school? So I think Vandy is very, very close. They're very, very close to being a viable team in this conference. I'm not saying they're going to be playing against Georgia and Atlanta next year in the SEC championship by any stretch of the imagination, but they could be a team that you never talk about being last place anymore because, hey, they started this trend of, hey, we got some star power, and the NIL market now levels some things out for them. You get a few big names in the transfer portal and kind of prove your mettle as a coach and as a system and as a culture. Guys are going to want to come play for that, right? Look at what Cam Ward did for Miami. You get a little bit of star power in Miami, boom, all of a sudden they're viable. Like they were a middling ACC team, which is bad. Middling ACC team. A team that was the laughing stock of college football a year ago because of the blunder they had when all they had to do was kneel out the game against Georgia Tech, and instead he ran the ball, fumbled, and they ended up losing to Georgia Tech. Like that was the story of the Miami Hurricanes last year. They get Cam Ward at quarterback. All of a sudden, they're a banana peel away from being in the college football playoff. They're a choke upset loss against Syracuse. Fran Brown, shout out to Fran Brown. If something for whatever reason happens to Clark Lee, I think Fran Brown needs to be your first phone call. That dude there's something special about that dude. But anyway, star power is the point, right? And Vandy has a chance to do that with the city of Nashville booming the way it is. This portal cycle could possibly change the way we see Vandy. I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to leave you to think about that. I'm going to leave you to chew on that. Star power, Nashville, NIL market could change the way you look at Vandy. Anchor down.